Hi.
Hello, my friend.
I was not expecting to be on camera, so I'm definitely not camera ready.
What does camera ready even mean?
I'm dressed.
Fair. Yeah,
Simple.
just just like from the neck up and then every shot. It's all good.
Oh, how are you?
hmm
How are you?
I am tired, I have
Yeah,
to say.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Just wait until next week. Do you guys change the clocks next week?
Oh, that's right, we do. And it's March break. So yeah, so I mean, I have like one kid here who's still in high school who has a March break, but it just means that there's more driving to do, right?
We
So
already had our break, but the clock change. I don't know about everybody else. Now on virtual, like I have clients in Europe, clients in the West Coast, and everybody changes differently,
yes.
right? So so today is really just trying to figure out how next week is going to happen.
Right.
It's kind of where I'm at.
I kind of like even the days like today where I'm feeling kind of tired. I feel like your day is only as good as your fuel, right? So,
Yeah.
what does my meals look like? What does my sleep look like? And just get through today. We'll be
Yeah.
good. You
And do you feel like you're tired just because you're working so much, or just because it's the world and winter and
I think it's just like this week has been just a lot of like work and like new clients, and it's new clients. That's it. That's actually what it is.
new clients?
Yeah. So I've
That's
had a
an
couple new
interesting
people.
topic, actually, because
Yes.
new clients for me have more pre-prep energy.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Exactly. So it's not a woe is me, I'm tired. It's like, okay, I have like a new client and they have like a whole buffet of different injuries and stuff we need to think about. And they're a super fun person. But then it's like, okay, so all this energy I'm putting out to they're in, like they're doing sessions. So I'm not selling Pilates, but I'm selling Pilates. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? In terms of like, look at this can
And
do and
trying to
look at
get them to
this and just
stay, or trying to get them excited about, I mean, they already signed up, right? So they're
no,
interested.
they already signed up and they're already interested and they see the value. So it's not like I'm trying to convince them of the value of it, but I'm just trying to help them. And maybe the word sale kind of gets scary, but like trying to get them to understand the connections and how it connects with their body and where they want to go,
Mm-hmm.
So like just kind of like the conversation I had with Nathan yesterday when we're talking about Pilates and classical Pilates and all these different things, he has this real fresh approach to it. He's saying, well, I'm attached to the outcome, not the process,
Oh, interesting.
right? And what he meant by that was, okay, well, we have traditional ways of doing things, and we have set orders and all these different things. Is like, do am I so wedded to the way it's been taught, or am I more, focused on helping this person get to their goal? And even
Mm-hmm.
if it means abandoning some of the traditional ways of doing things, right? So I'm more attached to the outcome or the goal for my client than whatever, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's the same thing. Like I think in my head right now, the tiredness is like this just being consumed with how do I help this person and the different energy of the new person, and that like you can kind of just relax into a client you've had for 20 years
Right.
and
Right.
still be on task, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like for me, I mean, I've been teaching Pilates for like, I don't even know. I keep saying 20 years, but I feel like I've been saying that forever.
I've been saying that for
Who
25
knows?
years.
Who knows? Actually, I think it was like early 2000. I still get a lot of anxiety every time I have a new client. It's not just Pilates, it's like anything I do. When I don't know their body and I don't know their personality and I don't know
Yeah.
how our energies are gonna match, I feel like I'm holding on to so much anxiety. And then when they come in, I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't
Yes.
all the things that I had in my head. This is actually just being in the moment and
Right.
learning this new body and being curious. And,
Yeah.
that never goes away from me.
No, and I don't think it should, right? Like, I mean, I think that if you didn't care, like, so if you didn't feel that, you didn't really care as much anymore, right? Like, you should
Yeah.
almost have like a sport, like you should have that pregame jitters a little bit going into the game because you're thinking about, you're playing through the process of what does this play look like? What am I gonna do in this scenario? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so like I think it's just a little bit more energy expended this week.
Yes, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So what do you have going on?
Oh,
You look stunning.
when we jump on these calls, and I'm like, I don't even know what else is going on. I've been training with Maria Earl. Oh
Oh,
my God.
have you?
If anybody has not done this, I'm just gonna like put a little advertisement out for Maria right now.
Yes.
Um, like I said, I've been doing Pilates for so long,
Mhm.
um, teaching it and doing it. And I think Maria and I actually met during one of your like round robin kind of
Oh,
momentum.
yes.
And we kept like, extending time.
Oh, nice.
And,
Nice. Love hearing
and
that.
so I did one of her advanced movers classes, and it was just so nice to be in a group of teachers moving together all over the world. It was the all over
Yes.
the world thing that really got me. And then I did that a few times, and then I just joined her graduate program. So
Great.
even as somebody who learned like in early 2000 to revisit a training program that's just as intense
Yes.
really opened my mind to the love of Pilates that I had again. Like where
Amazing.
I just want to do Pilates all the time. Not necessarily teach it all the time, but I want to do it all the time.
Yes.
So I just
Yeah.
like everybody to go out there and, take,
Well, yes.
like we're never done training ever.
Absolutely. Like I love that you said that because that's the second time someone's been on here and said that this week. Nanette was on early this week, and same thing. She's been teaching since 2000 something, and she just finished doing like an advanced teacher training with Kathy Ross Nash, right? So, and it really doesn't matter who is with. I mean, just putting yourself back into the seat of the learner
Yeah.
and doing Pilates without having to count is just a treat, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like you could just like just check out for a second and check into your body in a different way. It's just so key.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
And
what's actually sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry. For me, I was kind of like, this is what I talked to Maria about. I was at a place where I was, I had one toe in Pilates for years. I kept saying, like, I have one toe still in it. Like, I'm not going to give it up, but it's not my main
Yes,
thing anymore. And it was
great.
not my main thing as far as like my passion for it, but also like my teaching for it. And that wasn't fair to
Yes.
the clients that were showing up. So I kept
Mm,
dwindling down my clientele until it was really just people that I was friends with, that
yeah.
had been with me for so long. And so I needed something, if I was going to stay in it, to feel rededicated to it because,
Yeah.
I love the other stuff that I've done, and I'm very fortunate to have grown my business in that way. But,
Hmm.
Pilates is still in my life for some reason. And so this has sort of helped me to revisit it, I think, for that.
That's great.
Maybe we want to call it.
Yeah. No, I think that's it's a passion for a reason, right? So the gentleman that I had on yesterday has been teaching Pilates for I think 3 years, and he has dropped everything else and created his own program and has these really popular classes, and he's doing all these things with it. And I was saying, like, what is it that got us to that point of saying, I'm gonna just forget everything else and just be a Pilates person?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, can you remember or kind of access that spot where you're like, okay, wait, I like, just while you're thinking about that, for me, I was like, I did a class and it was like it kicked my butt. And I was like, okay, I'm really strong and I'm good at everything else, but this exposed me and I want to own it like it owned me.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I never dropped everything else. That's
Mhm.
like the thing is I've always had 5 jobs, and I like having 5. you know,
Yeah.
I, I blend it all under wellness, but it's really
Yes.
just like
5 jobs.
by having so many different. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm getting a million. I get a lot of text messages too. But when I first took Pilates, I think the difference was it felt good. It
Right.
didn't feel like work for me, and it
Hmm.
changed my body in a way that no other exercise did. So
Hmm.
that's what made me stick with it.
Yes. So we called it the I like this moment because it wasn't like, for me, it felt good. It's like, this felt terrible. I'm like, I'm
Oh,
weak, but like, sort of thing. But I like this because it challenged me, right? So it was a different, I like this moment. You're just like, wow, this felt good. And I was like, wow, this sucks. I want to come back and like make this right. Like, so
that's funny. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I think I've said this before, but my first Pilates class was at a Crunch Fitness in
Okay.
before it was like all over the place. I think there were just a few in New York City, and this wonderful, beautiful studio, this big yoga studio on Broadway. And I loved the music. It probably wasn't, it was a mat class.
Yes.
It was a gym, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't like what we see Pilates now, but it was
Right.
an class. And every time I felt, I couldn't do every exercise, but I felt empowered and inspired probably by the
Mm,
teacher and the music that was playing and the big group of people. I think that
yeah.
really, to be there and feel, you know, I didn't feel that I didn't belong there. I felt like there was a lot of space,
Yeah.
you know?
Fascinating. That just because that just brought out a memory for me of when I was doing the same thing, a group fitness class, Pilates class that I was really challenged by. Once again, I couldn't even do a roll up. I remember distinctly not being able to do a roll up, thinking like, is this physically possible for
Right.
my body type to do a roll
We
up?
hear a lot from clients like, my body doesn't do this.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Just give it 7 years, you'll get it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, but this is the thing I remember from this class, and I think in the same way that, like something that allured me to Pilates is the fact that this lady would be like, okay, I was at this workshop on the weekend, and we learned this about the cervical spine. So let's try some of those exercises today. A couple of weeks later, she's like, okay, I was at this thing and I learned this. And so there's a sense of like where, the group fitness, the step teacher wasn't coming back and saying, hey, I learned this on the weekend in a workshop. The Zumba teacher wasn't doing like, hey, I was like, it was this Pilates lady that was like continuing her education and diving deeper into the work. And as she was learning, she was giving it to us.
And the fact that she's bringing that in there and making herself vulnerable, that she's not an expert, which we always
Right.
doing in so many industries, like just fake it, just pretend to be an expert.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was coming in and saying, no, I just learned this. I'm excited.
It's fresh for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
love
just remember that now. Yeah. It's like,
going back
yeah,
to like, we all just, I mean, to be a student is,
yeah.
I mean, it allows you so much opportunity to just experiment and risk. And when you take the expert label away,
Mhm.
it allows you to really be part of this. Let's just be curious about each other, you know, instead of having to do it a certain way or be perfect or be all the things that make you, I don't even know what an expert is. Like, I've never identified with that. I have no idea. Like, don't come to me. I have no idea what I'm doing. It makes
Never.
say.
I'm like one step ahead of you right now. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is like I think I need this conversation.
Good.
That was just yeah, it was like life giving for me. Appreciate that. I don't want to like take your whole morning though at the same time. Like I know this is totally impromptu.
You give me a few more minutes, but
Yeah,
I always like to check into your things and being like, what's going on in the world of Pilates? Okay.
yeah.
You know, I appreciate
Well,
all of these conversations that you have because it really
no,
helps
yeah,
to keep me connected because I don't, you know, I work for myself,
yeah.
usually in the house.
Do you want to share like what you have going on? Anything coming up in terms of like
And I'm going
workshops
to
or seminars?
Fest.
Sorry,
So
repeat that, please.
I'm going to be at Momentum Fest this year again in
Oh,
person.
fun. Okay.
Um, I don't, you know, as far as what I have going on, I'm doing a lot of training. Like I said, I'm doing Maria's program, but I'm also doing another art therapy program on attachment and love and relationships. And
Amazing.
I'm in a lot of training, like relearning stuff. So, you know, I do breathwork groups twice a month virtually. And I do my intuitive therapy and I do Pilates and hypnosis. I do hypnosis now. You know, I just
Okay.
adding to things I like to learn.
I can insert so many Jamaican I have 10 jobs lines right here.
I love it. I love having intention. I don't know. I just like to learn stuff and I like to have jobs, you know?
I do too. That's why I'm just laughing because I mean I can like I have so many things on the go at the same time that I'm like trying to peel stuff back just to focus on something.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I always try to like research, you know, because I overanalyze myself. And I try to research like where did that come from? Because I wouldn't be able to have one job in a 9 to 5. And I think growing up, we didn't have a ton of money, and my parents weren't like, you know, I was like the first person in my family to go to college, really. And so they always had jobs, like a lot of jobs.
Yes.
My mom she needed money. She just like made something up. You know, she made our clothes and she would be like, okay, I'm going to have I'm going to make cakes for people, or I'm going to make this thing. And so I just grew up with that mentality. And I think being an artist,
Yes.
art, I was always like, well, art most likely isn't going to pay my bills. So what else am I going to do?
Right. But you also spoke to like resources. So like, I mean, like your mom making stuff. It's like, let me use my resources, let me use my skills and talents. Like where some other people are like, here's a business, I'm gonna buy this, or here's this technology. Like
Right.
there's people who can just see something and capitalize on an opportunity, and others can just leverage their talents.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's an economical thing, right? Because I didn't grow up with a family who thought about investments and making more money by, sitting back and just investing money and stuff. I grew up in a
Right.
family, like a doer. Like we always were like, I don't remember a weekend in my house that we weren't fixing our house ourselves.
Yes. Gotcha.
Like
Yeah.
I don't remember that. And when I say us, I mean kids involved.
Yes. Yeah.
So we were doers, and I think it helped. There's different ways that people are grown up and raised,
Mm-hmm.
and I think everything serves you a purpose. But for me, we were always, you don't lie around. You have to. You're doing something, and to
Right.
the detriment, but also I am very resourceful. Like I have been in a place where I've been so broke, and like as a single parent, like not knowing how to pay the bills, I was there. And so
Yes.
because of my resourcefulness, I was able to survive that. So
Right. Exactly.
it served me. But I think having lots of jobs is just, each job I have right now is a extension of the things I like to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't giving up any of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I have so many. you know
I hear you. Yes. Oh, so good.
were you raised
Um,
the way that you were like kind of a doer family, or were you like
yeah. Oh, yeah.
look ahead,
Yeah.
invest, and be smart about where you're going to school and how you're investing your money?
No, doer. Like my brother's in the chat, I think still, and we grew up with my dad having like working a morning shift and then coming home and then starting an evening shift and doing his thing and just jumping from like being a letter carrier to being a welder to being a courier to like this and that. So like they were like always having these active jobs too, right? So there weren't just jobs; there were jobs where you're on the move and like he was never chained to a desk, right? So there's a sense of like go out and do something, go out and build something, go out and go out and do something sort of thing. So yeah, there's always that sense of a job. But that I also had another memory though at the same time of when my brother and I were in our teens and he had this one job. I remember he was working like a 3 to 11 shift after his earlier day job type
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then we would just be like doing our thing out in the streets, coming home late on a weeknight and like have the car and come home at like 1 o'clock on a Wednesday sort of thing. And I remember him like quitting that job. He's saying like, I'm losing my boys here
Right.
sort of thing. So I remember him just like getting to a point where he's like, I'm not gonna do this job anymore because I'm losing that connection. And it's like there's a verse I remember in the Bible I used to come back to all the time. Like, there's he who makes himself rich, yet he is poor, and
Mm-hmm.
he who makes himself poor, yet he is rich.
Yeah, I mean
Right?
that. Yeah, that when you have a family and you're working that way, I don't know how it's sustainable. I mean, I know there are some people that have to. They don't have another option, right? Like they
Right.
have to do that, and I appreciate that because, when like I said, when I was a single parent by surprise, not by choice. So I
Yeah.
didn't have the resources, um, in stock. And I think when I was an art therapist, I don't know what social work is like, but as an art therapist, you make like minimum wage.
Yeah.
So especially starting out, and there were times when I was pregnant that I was working Pilates like almost every day, maybe 6 days a week. And I 3 days a week, I would like I was working at a domestic violence shelter as an art therapist, and I would go there for my 8 to maybe 10 hours if nobody showed up for their shift day,
Mm-hmm.
go to Pilates, you know,
Yes.
doing what you were saying your father was doing. And once I had my daughter, like I still was working, not that much, but I had to go back to work pretty soon after I had her.
Hmm.
And that's when I quit, is like when I had her. And I was like, you know what? I think I have to just do Pilates. And I started to arrange my schedule around her nap schedule so that she
Yes. Yeah.
would miss me personally, like in her
Hmm.
life. And then some days I would, you know, but then you make your schedule crazy because it's like
You're doing
go to
both.
bed
Yeah, exactly.
night when she's asleep and like working on the weekend
Totally.
with my brother. And there, that I'm so happy we're not in that stage anymore because that was
No, it's honestly, I'm still working those shifts though. Like, I mean, like same thing. Like I have like today at 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30 because back in the day it was like I could get 4 clients in before I had to take my kids to school.
right, right,
And I'm still doing these shifts and I love it now. Like I'm fine to do
right.
it, but
For high school now, right? So
yeah, 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 exactly. They're high school. I could like start work at 10 if I wanted to, but I'm still doing like 5 a.m. because
I,
that was the time, right? So
I'm still doing like super early until 2 because that was the schedule that I had with my daughter. Like I still think
yeah,
she needs me, right? So I'm still
right,
pretending that I need to be home.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, it's funny how we make those schedules with kids and we just keep them.
we just keep them. Yeah. So that resourcefulness, right? Like you're right. Like sometimes you don't have that luxury of quitting your job to do something else, but like it also forces that luxury,